Hello and welcome everyone that is joining us here today. We are going to officially get started now that it's 3. We've got Danicia Malone, the Programs Director at the Purdue University Black Cultural Center, who's going to be walking us through the center and giving us a quick tour. Just some quick housekeeping tips. If you could keep yourself muted and your videos turned off. We will be taking questions in the chat and we'll do a quick Q&A at the end. Take it away, Danicia.
All right, thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here with you all virtually today. As shared, my name is Danicia Malone. I'm the Programs Facilities Manager here at the Purdue Black Cultural Center. It's really my sincere pleasure to be with you today. The BCC is one of my favorite buildings in the entire state of Indiana. Hopefully with a little bit of this tour, you'll get to know why and feel so inspired to come visit us and take an in-person tour. But today we're going to do a kind of a virtual experience. And at the end, please feel free to ask any questions that you have. I absolutely love sharing the story of this space. So the BCC is 51 years old now. We celebrated our 50th year last year. We were so excited to be in Jubilee with one another, going through that experience. But our story begins not with where we are today, but with students who protested to get us here. So in 1968, Indiana, West Lafayette, Greater West Lafayette was feeling much of the same tensions as was being felt elsewhere in the world. It was post-Jim Crow era, supposedly. But students, faculty, and staff here at Purdue were still facing discrimination. Community members in the Greater Lafayette area were still being harassed, assaulted, threatened, beaten, cross burnings were still happening, lynchings were still happening, and this was in the late 60s here in our very state. This same tension carried over onto campus, and students were fed up with not feeling seen, with not feeling safe, with not feeling protected by their campus, where they came to learn and to grow and to be citizens and community members of the greater world. So they protested. Some 200 students, including faculty, staff, and community members, marched across Purdue's campus with bricks in hand, as you can see in this photo here, and they laid them on the president's doorsteps. And they declared the fire next time. And that was very, very intentional. What they were getting at were 2 key references. One was the biblical reference where God said that he would not bring water, he would not bring the flood, he would bring the fire next time. And the second reference is to James Baldwin's piece where Baldwin wrote these 2 amazing essays that are in a compilation of a book called The Fire Next Time, where he was calling on America to put a mirror up and to see its true self and how it was dealing with race relations and its members of its society, specifically Black members of its society. And if it didn't do that, it too would see the fire next time. So those declarations were very important and very key, and the students knew what they were doing when they marched and when they held up those signs and when they protested. Thankfully, the administration listened, and the students had a list of demands, and one of those demands, as you can see here, is that they called for a Black Cultural Center. They wanted a space where they could feel safe. They wanted a space where they could feel seen, protected, and get to explore themselves and learn about their culture and their history and their heritage. Of those demands, many were met, many were listened to, and the center manifested. This was our first house. This was called the Black House affectionately by its students, by its members, by its guests. This was a space that had tremendous industry happening inside of it. Galleries, library, performing arts space, lounge space. It tried its best to provide what the students were asking for at that time, which was, again, a space to feel safe, a space to feel seen. Purdue is a predominantly white university, and so we still are in a space right now in 2020 where it's less than 6% of our student body is self-identifies as colored. So when you've got 40,000 plus students, less than 6% identify as Black or of color, that can put you in a perspective where you feel lonely, where you feel depressed and and denigrated. So getting through this college education, this college experience, it's very important to have representation around you and to have not just people in your circle, but also people in your corner. And that's what the Black Cultural Center provided. So we fast forward to today. We are in a new space. Let's see here. Pardon me, it disappeared. Okay. So here we are in a new space, and this is the Purdue Black Cultural Center. So we typically start here with our tours, and if you can see, this is our custom-made desk. It's about 30 years old. It came with the building, and so it's got some wear and tear on it, but this custom-made desk is very important, very special to our space, because this reminds us of the Middle Passage, wherein enslaved Africans were transported for sometimes 3 months to 6 months on that journey, coming across the ocean as hostages. In reality, not slaves, but hostages. They were taken from their homeland or sold from their homeland. And so we start our tours here because we always want our guests to recognize that this is a part of our history. It's not something that we run from. It's not something that we hide. It is very much a part of our story, but it's not the beginning and it's not the end. As we go through this space today, you're going to see many elements that are unique to our building. I want to share that this was a space that was specifically designed by Blackburn Architects, which is an all-Black architecture firm based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. And when they took the bid to do this design and this construction, at the time, that was 1998. And they were the first vendor on Purdue's campus to be of color to get a bid. I want that to sink in a little bit. So in 1998, Purdue is 150 years old, and it wasn't until 1998 that a contractor of color was given a bid to do work on this campus. So that's very telling for us, and we're very proud of our space and our building. So some artwork that I'd like to share with you. This entire space is full of artwork, and you'll see that as we go around. It's everywhere, and that's intentional. We want our guests and our students specifically to understand that they come from creative emergence, that they're always free to create, that they're always free to explore, and always free to grow. Purdue University is a STEM university, so the creative arts is not a leg in its educational tier, but this is a space where students can come and explore and learn specifically through the Black diaspora and their heritage. So this space here, this piece here was a piece designed by Furjora. It's a very special piece. You're going to see 3 markings, and they might be difficult to see at this angle, but 3 markings in this piece: 1968, we've got 1869 on the hammer here, and I believe it's it's gonna miss me. I believe it's 1879 there. These markings are very important. So 1968 is when the protests happened that I shared. 1869 was the founding of Purdue, and 1894, I apologize, was the year that the first Black man graduated from Purdue University's campus with a degree in civil engineering, and that was David Robert Lewis. The positionality of this figure is also very important because in our heritage and history as a Black American, it's very important for us to recognize that when we see success, we always look back. We are very communal people. And so as we grow and as we excel in whatever it is that we're doing, we're always ready to bring the next person up with us. So we love this piece, and it's one of our cornerstones, why it's situated right where it is behind the desk. This piece here is a beautiful piece that represents one of the BCC's best experiences. So if you're a student here at Purdue, you are welcome to participate in any one of these organizations. The Black Cultural Center is one of 5 cultural centers on Purdue's campus. We are very fortunate to be in that cohort, but something a little unique about our space is that we sponsor performing arts ensembles. We have performing arts ensembles that allow the students, again, to explore their creative mind and to learn about their heritage and history. So we have the New Directional Players, which is a theatrical group, the Black Voices of Inspiration, and the Jahari Dance Troupe. This piece was done by by Robert Pepper, one of our former assistant directors. It's just beautiful, but this was done so long ago that we've now grown and we have more performing arts ensembles. So we have a Black Thought Collective, which is a student group that does research and white papers as we travel around the world. They help us glean what we're looking for and share those experiences, not only with the Purdue University community, but also with the world at large. We have Haraka Writers, which is a spoken word group, and we have Purdue Express, which is a theatrical group, and they specifically do a 20-minute presentation at recruitment fairs that talks about a day in the life of a student at Purdue University. When I tell you that they're amazing, they are absolutely amazing. They travel the world and do these pop-up experiences. And through their presentation and through their show, we get students who come into our building constantly and say, it's because I saw Purdue Express that I decided to come to Purdue as a student of color. I most recently had a student from Dubai come in and say that the Purdue Express, when they came to Dubai 2 years ago, they were the reason that this student decided to enroll at Purdue University from Dubai. So I think that's very special. Again, as we look around the building, there's artwork everywhere. We take a lot of time to curate these experiences for our students, again, to remind them that they can always grow and learn and glean something out of anything that they're given. I want to draw your attention, if you can, to this portal that's situated just outside the door. That's a very important feature. And there's another here, if you see there's a circular feature here. So at our main entryways, the portal is very important because, as I said, when Blackburn Architects was designing this space, they did so very intentionally, drawing upon the history, culture, and elements of the Black diaspora. What they wanted to do was find every opportunity to imbue this space with those elements that brought us strength, brought us community. And so those portals are important because if you are ever fortunate enough to experience village setting or small community setting in the Caribbean or in West Africa, oftentimes you're going to walk through a portal or over a threshold. This is our interpretation of such. So what this means is if you're invited to come through that portal or that threshold, it means that you are safe and that you are welcome. Those two things are very important for us in this space so that any student or guest who walks into this building understands that this is a space for them and that they are protected. So we as staff and we as community in this space are always going to be looking out for one another. And that might seem trivial, but that's a very, very important element for our space. Now, as you look around, you're going to see that you've got some entrances and different rooms. This is set up intentionally for our space to feel like a village setting. And there's hierarchy in our rooms. Our main formal lounge is here. We have a performing arts space here, and we've got a gallery setting here. Each of those spaces are very, very important and open access for any guest who walks into the building. This space here is what we did for our 50th year anniversary. We set up this interactive timeline that explored our beginning to now. And so again, we start here in the center where the protests happen. We've got our house in the beginning, some of our initial meetings. And as you go around the room, you're going to see different color codes and systems. These color codes reference a few different things. So as we go around the space, you're going to see light blue here, and these reference our performing arts ensembles. Our performing arts ensembles are a historical component of our space. They have been with us from the very beginning. They too travel around the world, and they are internationally known and internationally requested for their talents. They were the brainchild of Antonio Zamora. Antonio Zamora was our first Black Cultural Center director, genius, jazz musician, scholar, sociologist, and he came and took on the leadership role of this space in its beginnings and its early emergence, and helped to create it, make it what it is today. He recently passed away, so I want to make sure that I give him his due, and understanding that this space would also not be here if it weren't for his leadership. The orange things that you're going to see around the wall are intentional as well, because they speak to the things happening not only on Purdue's campus, but also in the West Lafayette, Greater Lafayette region. Those are the things that were the cross burnings. Those are the things that were the accosts happening. Those were also some of the firsts. We have students who were being named the first of something, or who were launching things. And those are important elements that showcase why this space was important, because we needed representation, and we wanted a space where we could grow and learn and collaborate with one another. The white elements that you see around the building are some of the features that we brought into our space, some of the guests that came to share with us, share their knowledge and share their wisdom. As you look around, you're going to see some big time names. We've got Amir Baraka, Muhammad Ali, Maya Angelou, Sonia Sanchez. So many guests have come and shared their wisdom with us here at Purdue by way of the Black Cultural Center, and we're grateful for their leadership. And we continue to do that today. As we go around the room, you'll see that those names continue to come at us. When we get to this side of this space, you start to see the world appear and the globe manifest itself. And that's because in the early 2000s, we started finding availability to take tours around the world and explore our diaspora up close. So every year, this year is special due to COVID, but every year we take at least 3 trips, locally, nationally, and internationally, exploring our Black diaspora. And these are trips that are open to students, and we do everything we can to make sure that students are able to join us without financial burden. So we have been around the world following the transatlantic slave trade, getting us back here to the Americas, trying to understand what our history and heritage and lineage is. Again, looking around the room here, these names continue. Margaret Burroughs and Spike Lee. We recently had Melissa Harris Perry, just some wonderful names that have donned our footsteps. So the design of these spaces is also very important. As you see, we're in another oval room. And as we go back out into this space, it too is circular. That's very important. This design element means that if anyone is standing in the center, there's an echo that happens and vibrates around. So there's some architectural elements that take place when you're physically in the building. But my voice will sound differently if I'm standing directly in the center and I have guests standing around me. That means that I don't have to expend too much energy to yell and share what it is that I'm sharing, because I have the floor, and the floor has me, and it's helping me do that work. So again, this is an element that was adopted from Caribbean and West African design, where they were simply using the natural elements around them to have community and be in communion with one another. Every year we have a new exhibition in the space. This is one of our past exhibitions. We change this out monthly. So we ask guest artists to come through and install their works. These are all educational spaces, and we ask that they be interactive so that the students can touch things, learn about things, get up close and personal with things. And so each of these items speaks to some element of our diaspora. I'm going to draw your attention to this rug and the pattern in the rug if I can. As you see, it's kind of a windmill pattern here. And this is very important. It's based off of an Adinkra symbol. And the Adinkra symbols are a set of icons that speak to different blessings, different proverbs across the African heritage. So this one here is very important for us because it means wind resistant. And again, we said that when a new guest comes into the space, they are safe and they are welcome. But we also want them to know that they are fortified. Not only are we standing around them, but everything in this space is standing around them, and we always are trying to encourage them so that they know they can get through this educational experience, that they can get through this learning engagement with all of the resources that they need. You're going to see these elements all through the building, and we're very, very intent on making sure that we share these with our guests when they come through the space. As we go through and looking around, you'll see that the colors on the walls, the trim on the walls, the wallpaper on the walls, each of these things was an adaptation of the West African lifestyle. So we've got the raffia and the sconces, the bamboo coming down, the trim of the walls, and we've got adaptations of the baobab tree seen in our wallpaper. Another extreme element that we love to share is our wrought iron work that is going around the banister up here. This is another important element of our history. As men were finding themselves free after the emancipation, one of the only jobs that they were able to do was that of blacksmith. Their work was so exceptional, and no one could compete with them. And so this type of wrought iron goes in all the way around our space, and there are adaptations of the Adinkra symbols in this patternry as well. So again, no matter where a student looks or where a student goes, they're going to find encouragement in this space. It is a living testament. So the vernacular of this space is very important to what we are trying to do here at the BCC. There's an entire second floor that I'd like to try and take you up to if I can. And up here is where we have our Black Cultural Center library. In this space, even though it's closed right now due to COVID, but this is our space where every piece of material here is by Black authorship. Every book, every CD, every magazine, every video. This is an entire library that features the Black diaspora. This is a space that students are coming to for reference material constantly. We get reference material that's lent out constantly, not just here, but regionally, nationally, we have guests coming in to do research in our space. We truly, truly value the commitment that Purdue has shown to recognizing how important it is for us to have a singular space as we do, and for us to be able to share our knowledge and wisdom as we continue to grow and learn more about our history. I'm going to try and take us back downstairs. Come back into this room. The last thing I wanted to show you is that this space is an interactive space, and this link is available online. You can come here and look at any of these QR codes, follow the videos, and see what these presentations were actually like when they happened, and hear the recordings and watch the videos. We have tons of them that also speak not only to the guest experiences that came, but also to our performing arts ensembles, recordings from historical archives and present. So unfortunately, due to COVID, our building is taking kind of a break with live performances, but we are trying very hard to put all of these things online so that guests can continue to learn and explore what the Black diaspora is and how it has affected not only the lives of Black Americans or those who come from a Black diaspora, but also the entirety of the American fabric. So that is a quick tour of the Black Cultural Center, and I'm happy to take any questions or thoughts that you may have. Thank you so much for this sharing and this experience with me.
Thank you so much, Danicia. We do have one question in the chat, which is, how can people come visit?
Yes. So our space is on amended hours this semester. We're open from 10 to 4 in the heart of the Purdue campus. You're welcome to come in for a pop-in tour, or you can email me directly and I can schedule one for you. Longer, if you come in for a physical tour, those tours are typically 25 minutes and we'll go throughout the entire space. We typically do a lunch that's provided if it's a single guest. So feel free to just send me an email.
Is that an email that we can share in the chat?
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. And then we've also got someone asking a link for the virtual tour as well.
Yes, I will share that. Maybe I can share that now. Let's see. So there's the link for the tour. And I will share my email address.
And then we've got one question. Do you guys do tours for groups? There's someone that's a chair for an art league that is interested in coming.
Yes, we do. We do tours for groups. Again, please just email me if you are interested in bringing a group. Right now, Purdue has some regulations in place due to COVID about group sizes and et cetera. So we want to make sure that we can keep you all safe. But if you are interested in bringing a group here, we can try and work that out for this semester. Yes. So we have a special librarian for that space who would be delighted to answer any of your research questions. I'm not a librarian, I'm the programs director, but I would be happy to put you in contact with them. Our space is, again, as I said, one that's used regularly, locally and internationally. So I'm sure that whatever you're looking for, we can provide. We're also a network within a network of libraries. And so we'd be happy if we don't have a piece of material here, we'd be happy to try and source that for you.
Fantastic. Does anyone else have any other questions? Feel free to throw them in the chat, or if you would like to unmute yourself and ask, by all means.
Yeah, please. So our space is very dynamic and there's so much information, which is why an in-person tour will typically last about 25 to 30 minutes. And we're hoping that this interactive tool that we're very excited to share today, we just got this link done, can give you kind of a taste of what it's like to be in the space. So I'd be happy to even just hear feedback about what you thought about the virtual link.
Personally, I felt like the link was fantastic because you got to see the information pop up as you navigated, similar to Google Maps, you know, which is, it's great. Yeah. So if you can't physically drive there, or if you can't go because of COVID, it's nice to be able to see the inside and get a glimpse of what you'd like to go see, you know?
Yes, yeah. I will also share that all of our programming this year is virtual. Making it as accessible as possible. So we have an event tonight about healthcare and disparities. Again, free and open to the public. And these are links that you can find on our Instagram page. And I can share that in the chat too. And that's where you find us on Instagram.
Is there a particular time that the event begins tonight that you're mentioning?
I believe tonight's event starts at 7.
Fantastic.
I believe it does. Yes, please come visit after COVID. Our building it's missing people. I can tell that the building is missing people. This is an alive space. We're typically buzzing with students and traffic, and so this is a space much to the tradition of where we come from that really needs people in order to thrive. Yeah, thank you.
All right, right. Well, thank you so much, Danicia. We are so blessed to have had you come and share the space and all the information and stories with us, and can't wait to see more and come visit and all the fun stuff. So
Yes.
Thank you again.
Thank you all. This was great.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.